Hi, ladies. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We have a few odds and ends things that we're going to be doing today. First of all, today is my coffee day, which is decaf. I know it's kind of weird, and a lot of people are like, "Hey, why bother if you can't have the caffeine?" But I like it. It's really like a mocha drink, not just coffee, because of the amount of chocolate chips I put in it. And also, as you can see, the amount of half and half I put in it. So I do this like once a week. Anyway, so today we are gonna pretty things up a little with some flowers here. And we're gonna put up a few Valentine's Day decorations. And I mean only a couple because I am in dire need of some Valentine's Day decor. I went out yesterday to a few places to see if I could find anything, and I just didn't see anything that I really liked. So with just a couple of things you'll see here and there today, and that's it. Maybe I'll find some more stuff later on in the future. The good thing about decorating is, you don't need to have every single thing you want to decorate your house for every holiday. It's a process. It's something you gather couple things here and there year after year, and eventually you have what you want. It doesn't need to be a need it all right now sort of thing. Also today we are going to bake some blueberry scones, and ladies, let me tell you, I've been using this recipe for years and it is so good. Also on today's agenda is I have a couple of things that I have to sew really quickly. And then I know you're wondering, what are we going to declutter today? And what we're going to do is bookshelves, not two bookshelves, but two shelves on a bookshelf. We're going to declutter some kids' books. Benjamin he's 6 now, and he's starting to read, and he's at a point where he's moved on from some of the board books, and his shelf is just packed with books. They're stacked all the way across the shelf, but then there's some jammed in on the top of the other books too, so we're going to thin that out. This is one of my favorite decorations for Valentine's Day, the kissing booth. So when my husband's home, I switch it to the open side, and the boys are always like, "Ew, gross, Mom, turn that to closed." So it's funny. And then these flowers, they're more kind of like spring, but I was like, they're pink, so close enough. I'm just going to put this up for Valentine's Day. And now it's time to make these delicious scones. So what you want for here is 2 sticks of frozen butter. And you're going to take the paper off of just half of the butter on each stick. And you're going to grate the open part of the butter, just the butter that's showing on both. So what you're going to end up with grated is 1 stick total. However, if you try to just grate a whole stick of butter, because your hands are warm, it starts melting toward the end, and it's really hard to get it all grated because you don't want to end up with any kind of like a clump of butter in it. You really want it all grated to get the right texture for the scones. So once you get these grated, set aside another 2 tablespoons in a bowl that we're going to melt a little later, and that's just going to get put on top of the scones once they're together, but before they're baked. And then the rest of the butter you just use for another purpose another time. Now take the butter that we just grated and stick it in your freezer. You don't have to cover it or anything, just stick it right in the freezer. Now in a small bowl, we are going to whisk together half a cup of milk and half a cup of sour cream. After you have it whisked, then stick that in your refrigerator. So you should have your butter, your grated butter in the freezer, and then your milk and sour cream mixture in your refrigerator. You want everything to stay as cold as possible to get the right texture on the scones in the end. Once you have this all whisked up and put in the fridge, then grab a medium-sized bowl and all-purpose flour, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and a lemon and zester. Now you're going to put 2 cups of the all-purpose flour in this bowl, and then you're going to do a half a cup of sugar. Also set aside a tablespoon of sugar for later. And then we want 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and then a half a teaspoon of salt. And then lastly, we're going to add a quarter of a teaspoon of baking soda. And then grab your lemon and whatever you're using for a zester. And after you have your lemon all nice and cleaned up, then zest that. So the recipe calls for a teaspoon of the lemon zest, but here's what I found. Just zest up the whole lemon. You need the whole thing. And this was a pretty small lemon, and I think it could have even used a little bit more lemon flavor. So even if you have a bigger lemon, just zest that baby right up and throw it all in. Now that we have the lemon zest in with the other dry ingredients, then just whisk it in really good. You don't want any clumps of the lemon zest. And then now grab your butter from the freezer, and you're going to add this to the dry mixture. And we are going to be careful how we mix this. We're going to kind of fluff it through the flour. You don't want to end up with any clumps of butter. You basically want all the grated pieces to be coated in butter. And this isn't hard. It sounds harder than it is. Just fluff it up in there and don't squeeze it, and you'll be all set. Once that's quickly fluffed up, then grab your milk and sour cream mixture from the fridge and pour that right in, and use a rubber spatula to mix it in. Then we're going to flour our work surface, and we're gonna dump this all out onto a lightly floured surface to work with. Once you have this dumped out, then turn your oven on and preheat it to 425 degrees. Now we're going to just knead this dough until it's basically just barely holding together, just like 6 or 8 times. I kind of squish it all together and then start kneading it. And it comes together real quick. It doesn't take long at all. And again, we want to work relatively quick and not over knead it, because we still want to keep this baby cold. And once we have it together, then we want to roll it out to basically a 12 by 12 shape. Now you don't have to be exactly precise with this. It's going to be delicious. It doesn't matter. So you don't need to use a ruler like I am. Just get it to somewhere close to 12 by 12 inch rectangle. And then I'm using the same plate that we had our frozen butter on. Just dust that a little bit with some flour, and we're going to end up putting this on there. I just don't want to dirty another dish, because I mean, come on, who wants to dirty extra dishes if we don't need to? So now we're going to use a bench scraper, and we're going to fold this into thirds. And then you're going to see we're going to fold it the other direction into thirds again. Okay, so here is the first third that we're folding it into. And now we're gonna go from the top and bottom part, and we're gonna fold it up on one end and then down on the other, so that we're folding it into thirds for the second time. Once you have this little square, then we're going to set it on top of the lightly floured plate, and we're going to stick it in the refrigerator for 5 minutes. Once that's in the refrigerator, I'm just going to lightly flour this work surface again. And then now at this point where we're waiting this 5 minutes, this is when I'm going to get my blueberries ready. And they can be fresh or frozen. I'm just using ones that were already frozen. But if you have fresh ones, then stick them in the freezer for probably like an hour before you even start this process, so that they're nice and really cold when we go to use them. And then also you can melt your 2 tablespoons of butter. After the 5 minutes is up, pull the dough out from the fridge. We're going to roll this out into the same size and shape again, so like a 12 by 12 inch square. Now that we have the shape that we want, we're going to pour our blueberries on here. Now I'm using a full cup and a half, and it's a lot of blueberries, but I really like a lot of blueberries. So if you think this is too many, then just try like a cup. Once these are spread out, we're going to just gently press them down into the dough. Not hard. You don't want them like poking through the back side, but just press them down lightly, because we're going to roll this and we don't want them all rolling out all over the place. You'll see some of them roll around, but I just shove them back in after. And I'm going to use the bench scraper just to get it started. This tool is so convenient for a lot of this stuff. So I'll just loosen up, start rolling it, and there's enough flour underneath it that once I get it going, you just keep rolling it. And the blueberries that do roll out, don't waste them, just shove them back in on the ends. Once this is all rolled up and we've shoved those blueberries back in the ends, we're going to try to flatten this out a little bit. Use a rolling pin so that it's about 4 inches thick. Still, we want it about a foot long. So after I roll it here, it gets longer as you roll it. So then I just like squish it back together. So it's close enough. And once we get about a 12 by 4 inch shape, then you can use a knife, or if you've got a bench scraper, then use that. And we are going to cut this into about 4 even squares. Once you have your 4 squares, now we're going to cut them again into a triangle shape. So just go from one corner to the opposite corner, and we're going to end up with 8 triangles. Look how pretty these look. I love the colors. Now grab a cookie sheet. I'm going to use my stone, and we'll just spread them out nice and evenly on your stone. And you're going to want to get your melted 2 tablespoons of butter and your tablespoon of sugar that we had set aside, and then something to brush the butter on the top of these. So here, just brush the butter on the top and all the sides. And if there's any left over in your bowl, just drizzle it on all the tops of them evenly. I use all the butter. Now that the butter's all on there, grab your sugar. You're just gonna sprinkle it on the top. It says to use a tablespoon. I think that is a bit much. You can use whatever you want, whatever you think looks good. It's up to you. But just sprinkle some on the top of each one and then put it in the oven. And those are going to bake for about 20 to 25 minutes, depending on your oven. And while those are baking, I'm just going to put up our little heart garland on our school board for a Valentine's Day decoration, and do the little bit of sewing that I needed to do. So 2 things needed to be quickly sewn. One was my older son's gi pants for Taekwondo. He like kicked the hem right out of those things. So I just, I kind of tack hem it. I hem it in just a few places around the bottom. So because he is growing so fast that I don't want to hem all the way around, because I know I'm going to have to undo that hem when they get too short. So I just tack them. And one of them loosened up. I think it was probably when he was putting them on and his toe got caught in it or something, and he ripped it apart. So we just put a little tack hem in there. And the other thing I have to sew is a cute little peplum top that I got. I got it at Walmart, like on clearance, and I didn't realize it until I got it home, but there was a seam that hadn't been sewn properly. It wasn't ripped, it just was an error in the making of it process. So I didn't want to have to take the time to return it because I knew I probably wasn't going to find another one. So I figured I'll just throw it in my sewing pile and fix it when I can. So I don't know if you have like sewing piles, but they like, sometimes I'll have a pile like sitting somewhere for like a year before I get around to it. And then it takes me like half an hour to get everything done. And I'm like, why did I put this off? Why did I wait so long? It's ridiculous. Oh, well. Once I'm done sewing this, I'm going to hop over to decluttering the books that I need to do. So if you want to also declutter any books, then grab a donation box or a trash bag or some other bag and pop over to wherever your bookshelf is and go ahead and start decluttering right with me. So this is the worst offender shelf right here. We have tons and tons of books in our house, but I need to just focus on this. This is the one that Benjamin, my youngest, gets to most often. And there's just so many books in here. He's got his Ranger Rick Jr. magazines that are shoved in there. They don't even belong there. They have a whole different place that they're supposed to be. But I need to get a lot of just the little like board books out of here. Some of them he still likes, but he doesn't really look at them anymore. But if he saw me decluttering them, then this would be a problem. They'd all be his favorite. So I needed to sneak up here and go through these while he was busy downstairs playing with his brother, playing with Legos. He is also starting to read like level 1 books, and I have a bunch of those that I have packed away in a tote up in our barn that I need to bring down. So I needed some more room on this shelf to be able to put some new books on here for him as well. While we're going through these books, I want to know, how was your week this week? Did you ladies do anything new, fun, exciting? Did anything crazy happen? Let me know down in the comments. For us, Benjamin's he's been doing his swim class, and that's going really well. He was swimming all on his own yesterday during class and floating on his back, and it's really great. It gives them such a confidence boost when they can accomplish something new like that. It was really great and exciting for him and us. Also, I finally got my certificate. I tested in iColly a few months ago and got my first ranking, and I finally just got my certificate in that. They come from the Philippines, and so it finally came in, so that was exciting. So now I can like officially prove that I've got my first ranking in iColly, so that was exciting for me. Also, tell me about the weather where you are at. Leave it down in the comments. I want to know, where are you ladies from and what's your weather like right now? I know most of the country has been pretty cold lately, and here in Maine, our temperatures have been below average the last few months. So it makes it difficult getting enough exercise and outdoor time. We don't get as much as we would like to get when it's so cold like this, and it definitely affects attitudes on I think everybody's part here. I know the boys are definitely arguing more, and Mr. Levi, he definitely needs a lot of exercise or he turns into a little shark dog. And so it's been a little difficult. I'm definitely looking forward to the temperatures warming up, and I mean, we're still going to be cold for a while here in Maine, but I mean, even if it gets into the 30s, then we're all outside a lot longer. We can handle that. That's like a heat wave. So I don't need it to necessarily be spring or summer, but just a little warmer would be nice, so that we can maybe calm down the attitudes a little bit and have a little more patience with each other. That'd be nice. So, I mean, thankfully the boys do martial arts and they do swimming, but they need more than that. These boys, they need to be outside running around like for multiple hours a day. And especially the dog too. Like he needs a lot of exercise. And normally we do our walks through the woods and on the trails and stuff, but with this cold temperatures and the snow, his paws freeze up pretty quick, so we just can't do that right now. So we'll just all pray for a little bit of warmer weather for everybody. I'm sure a lot of you are in the same boat I am. I have a few series of books here that I wanted to show you ladies that the boys just love. There's a few here. Julia's House for Lost Creatures and Nobody Likes a Goblin. The boys love those. This series here are all by Bill Peet is the author, and all of these books are really good. He has a lot more, but those are all the ones that we have, and the boys really have loved those. Shark Dog, that's another really good one. We got that from the library years ago, and Abraham loved it so much that we had to get it. And this is the Henry and Mudge series. That's a little boy and his big dog. And then It's Time for a Hug. That is such a precious, precious book. So Time for a Hug, it's about a little rabbit and his mom, and on every day they talk about how it's time for a hug, and then every time we read that line we would always give hugs. So it's such a precious book, and I recommend it for any little kid. Here now I'm up on the reference shelf here, and this book is Leonardo da Vinci. It's like all of his works, and my oldest son has always loved Leonardo da Vinci, so he got this a few years ago for a gift, and he just loves that. That's a huge amazing book. So this shelf, I'm not really taking or getting rid of anything off of here. I'm just trying to sort of clean it up and make it look a little better. I do like to pull a few things out of here each week and put them down in our reading basket that is downstairs in the homeschool area. The boys, they read to each other every day, and so Benjamin, he is in kindergarten and he has his like level 1 readers, so he will pick something out, or I will pick something out that I need him to read, and he'll read to me and his brother. And then Benjamin will come up here to the bottom shelf area and he'll pick something out for his brother to read to him. After we finish up here, I am going to show you how the scones came out, and they were amazing. They're so good. And that is going to be it for today's video. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you were able to do a little decluttering on your own, and I hope that you try the scones recipe, because I'm telling you, it's amazing. And don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this. Thank you, ladies. Have a great week.